All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the JoBlo Movie Show Podcast, and Happy New Year. I'm Paul Shirey.
Happy New Year.
Yay! Happy New Year.
So 2016 is over, so nobody's going to die this year, right?
Nobody's dying. It's a new year.
The dying year was last year?
No, there will not be one single celebrity death in 2017.
Whew, okay.
So everybody
thank
just
God.
fucking relax.
I was worried, man. I was worried.
2016 was just a bad year. All the
Holy
bad things happened,
smokes.
and people died. And somebody lost an election. Bad.
Rogue One.
Rogue One, bad. I guarantee you, there's going to be, as there is every year, a handful of celebrity deaths. And people are going to be like, 2017, what in the fuck? Fuck you.
People get way
This is
too
the worst.
caught up with the New Year's stuff, though. It's so arbitrary.
Every time I see people flipping off a year, it's so fucking arbitrary. It's literally.
I can guarantee you one thing about the year. It'll have its ups and it'll have its downs, like every year.
Well, the fact that we measure everything within a year, anyways, from January to December. I mean, time is not relevant to that. It's just time. It just keeps going.
I kind of measure it as my birthday is kind of like the beginning of a new year for me. Anyway, I don't know.
All that.
I measure between pooping. So
There you
I have
go.
maybe, 8 days in a single day sometimes.
You are regular as fuck.
Speaking
everybody have
of,
a
I'll
nice
see you guys in
Christmas?
30.
Did everybody have a nice Christmas holiday?
I had a nice, fairly pleasant holiday. Sean?
Okay.
Okay. Fucking, it was in
also-
2016 though. So
Yeah, so
fuck
we don't talk about
2016.
that.
We're not going to talk
Worst
about
Christmas
it. Okay.
ever. 2016.
Okay.
It was
Chris-
a Christmas.
So
I hope
what
my-
did
I
everybody?
hope
What
my-
was you guys' favorite Christmas present?
My family has always been very. We've always had a Christmas tradition where our parents give us money. So
What a beautiful
I got a nice
tradition.
envelope
Just on
of
Christmas?
money, so
Oh,
that was
man.
good. Yeah, well, Christmas is kind of we get it all on Christmas, and then you don't ask the rest of the year, so it was good.
Here's your $10,000. Don't say another fucking word.
Jeez, well,
That's it?
no, not
Jesus.
that. Santa
Sorry,
wasn't
Chris.
that generous, but but it was still fun.
that reminds me, the lady I'm seeing, Taylor, she got me some Legos, and
Oh.
I just went fucking crazy and bought
Marry
like
her.
You
3
made
sets
sexual
of
Marry
Legos.
her.
You made sexual things with the Legos, didn't you?
I did.
If a girl buys you Legos,
I'm gonna be
marry her.
sore for a few more days, but it was worth it,
Oh, eesh.
Jesus.
No, I got so many Star Wars Lego sets. It's fantastic.
My favorite gift that I have not had a chance to download because my fucking computer doesn't have a CD player. I just found out is I got the Inner Space score by Jerry Goldsmith, the complete
Oh, great
limited
score.
edition
that's-
one.
I like
Fantastic.
I like that movie a lot.
And I
That's a
fucking-
fun ass movie.
I know. I
Yeah.
recently watched it with my son and showed it to him for the first time, and he really liked it.
Yeah,
but
it's a really fun film.
Loves Goldsmith's score. I always have. So I finally.
That was
got
his.
it.
I found that was my favorite period for him, the '80s. I really like all of his
Oh
scores
yeah,
from that era.
dude, he was a fucking magician, man.
His Extreme Prejudice score is really cool too.
Oh no, I thought that was James Horner, wasn't it?
No, It's
Was it
it's Jerry
Goldsmith? I
Goldsmith.
knew it was
One of the few Walter Hill movies that he scored.
Yeah, because he usually used Horner.
No,
I just
it's a
don't
really,
remember.
it's a
You're probably
really
right.
good Jerry Goldsmith score.
Well, we could catch up all day on our Legos and sexual things and Christmas, but we have some movie stuff to talk about.
Again?
Again, I think that's why people are here.
So, I'd like to make a covenant with you guys.
Oh, god damn it.
to speak
2017.
about-
I
Won't you
hate
die
2017 is the
It's
worst
the
year
worst.
ever. Fuck you, 2017.
Worst
So the
second day in
alien-
a year ever.
So the Alien Covenant trailer dropped on Christmas Day.
Oh,
And it
did
was
it?
a nice early Christmas present to all of the movie fans.
to everybody that doesn't work for a movie news site.
Yes.
Thankfully,
And I
I had my
enjoyed
write-up
the trailer.
done and prepared, so all I had to do was put it online on Christmas Eve.
And I quite enjoyed the trailer.
I enjoyed it.
And
I saw a
my
different
girlfriend was
trailer.
very happy to hear that there'd be not one, but two Michael Fassbenders in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. One with blonde hair and one with brown hair. Walter is the brown hair version. So there. That's it. That's all we need to talk about.
Done.
Yeah.
Moving on. Next
So
topic.
people
for joining us.
seem to like our little commentaries on the trailer. So, hey guys, why don't we do one for Alien Covenant?
Let's fucking
Oh,
do it.
I wasn't prepared, but okay, someone counted off.
And a 1, 2, 3, go. Red band.
Red band.
Ooh.
That's when you know it's good.
I like that color.
I like that there's yelling and blood and running.
Some
So I've seen a lot of these. I've seen a lot of these scenes in context. So
Okay,
I have a
it's coming out of
different
his back though.
perspective.
Is it like a face hunt? It's coming out of his back. That's pretty cool.
what the?
Was that supposed to be
Weird
James Franco's
stuff.
character or someone else? By the way,
Oh, I don't know.
No.
Maybe it is Franco's character.
No, Franco's
tell.
not in any of those scenes.
Okay.
He might be in that scene.
that's him right there, right?
Stupid.
I do like the cover of Nature Boy happening, even though I find like moody covers of songs.
I
a
agree.
little
I
much, but-
fell for this one too. Actually,
Yeah.
it fit nicely.
I also like Catherine Watterson. I find she's
Catherine,
really
she's great. She was a real pleasure to talk to.
I like that little shot with the ship going over the water, and you can see the water kind of moving because of the ship's slipstream there. I thought that was a nice touch.
That's wonderful, Sean. You're beautiful.
good. I'm always happy to see Billy Crudup in movies.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh, she said, "Fuck! What the hell?"
This is Red Band,
God,
baby.
God. Whoa,
She said the F word.
whoa! We didn't ask your mom.
This was the part that made everybody happy when we first saw this. Motherfucking
So I guess
face-hugger.
Billy Crudup is not in the movie very long, though.
No, he's. I know he's initially a big part of the setup from the scenes that we saw at the Fox showcase.
Danny McBride. It seems like he's playing kind of like the Yaphet Kotto type character.
He's very. He still has the very Danny McBride-ishness going on.
Oh no!
Beginning.
Goodness me!
There's a
So
shout.
sexy time. Nothing bad will happen here. Oh.
Yeah, I guess they're not fooling around with the xenomorphs. Eh?
Oh, there will be xenomorphs. There will be.
Looks
xenomorphs.
pretty cool, guys.
I'm stoked for it. And I've seen
I always like to watch.
quite a bit.
I always like to see the credits, the order that the credits are in. You can always tell who's going to be in the movie longer. Hey, but here's something interesting. You know who's doing the score? Jed Kurzler.
I saw that. I saw when I watched it the other day. I was like, oh,
That was the one thing I liked about Assassin's Creed was the score
His
by Jed
score
Kurzler.
for Macbeth was great too. So
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I mean, I didn't care for Assassin's Creed at all, but the score was great, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah, Ridley Scott works
found
with a lot of
Prometheus
composers.
Prometheus lacked a really good score, I found.
yeah, it wasn't very memorable.
Yeah, he brought in like a second
stuff.
composer to write like a good theme during like one of the integral moments where Michael Fassbender is in the map room. Like that's the one like memorable part of that score. But yeah, the rest of it's not too great.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mark Streitenfeld that did Prometheus. He's okay. I liked his Robin Hood score. I know that's not a beloved movie, but I did like the score for it.
I found that it's kind of sad that I think Ridley Scott and Zimmer had kind of a falling out years ago, and they just, I mean, he still works with composers affiliated with Zimmer, but it seems like he's not too keen on actually scoring his movies anymore, which is too bad.
Yeah, he's done some great scores with Harry Gregson Williams as well. Kingdom of Heaven is a standout for me.
Yeah, you see, I found Kingdom of Heaven. The problem with that score was I thought it was a good score
There was no
too, but he
problem
used
with
a
it.
lot of source music.
Exactly. That's my
used-
piece,
other
too.
scores.
Yeah, he used the one
Which I
from
thought
The
was
Crow.
weird. Yeah,
There's even
yeah,
one
and-
from
and-
Blade 2 of all movies in there.
Is there? I didn't hear that.
and from the 13th Warrior as well.
That's right.
Oh
where he's
yeah,
like the big speech.
speech part. Yep, Jerry
Yeah,
Goldsmith.
so I found that was a little bit off-putting.
It was
so
strange. It was
it's-
definitely strange, but I thought it was kind of cool too at the same time because it was like
It took me out of the movie, to be honest.
I think it probably
'Cause it
took
kept-
you
made
out
me
because
think
you know
about
the
the movies.
music. That's probably why.
Yes, I knew it too well, and they were too recognizable, I think. I mean, they've done that in other movies, though, like Die Hard at the end of Die
It was
Hard.
used brilliantly though. I just watched Die Hard
used
over Christmas and I
brilliant.
listened to the commentary
Likewise.
towards the end and heard John McTiernan talking about how they used this. John McTiernan couldn't recall what movie it was from, but he knew that they had
It was-
pulled from another film.
It was
for that
Aliens, and then and also the score from the first version of Man on Fire with Scott Glenn.
Oh yeah, I watch that all the time.
They used no.
So, anyways, Alien Covenant, what we're supposed to be talking about. Who's excited? Anybody? I'm
Oh
excited.
God, yeah. Of course.
I mean, I
think
still
it's
want to
probably
see the movie, but it wasn't as good as the initial Prometheus trailer. You know,
But did
That
you
was
read?
really
Did you
something.
read Paul Shirey's report on the footage that he saw in Alien
I
Covenant?
fucking read Paul's report.
That
I actually pre-read John
report-
Fallon, who's coming on the show later, is coverage of the set visit, which is still under embargo.
Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Quite excited.
We can talk about what I saw though, which is quite a bit of stuff too. So
Paul, I just want to say real quick, your report excited me more than the trailer did.
Yes, not a credit to me, but just a credit to like what we saw, because it was really what we saw was like, for me, I was like, oh fuck, and you could see it too from the other journalists that were there. Like the blood and gore quotient that's in this isn't even touched upon in that trailer. Like you see, a little.
I don't really care about blood and gore though. It's just give me a good movie.
It's really cool though.
Blood and gore does not make a film.
You see the aliens come out of the people. It's not just a typical alien popping out of the chest. It's like, well, we've seen that, and these are different types of xenomorphs. So like that dude that's like shaking on the in the little medbay area, the fucking alien pops out of his back, like his whole backbone falls out, and it's like attached to the backbone, and then it pops out, and it's those little white ones that you've seen in the leaked set pics, the little white xenomorph with the spiked back, and they're creepy as hell and nasty, and it just keeps growing and growing. Like from the time that it gets out, like it's growing like as you're watching it. You know what I'm saying? Like every cut you see the new one, it's like, holy shit, he just got bigger. So it's really, really cool and gory. And then you see another guy that's in Billy Crudup's team that are out exploring off of that dropship. You see him start going into convulsions. That was like the last thing we saw. And the fucking alien bursts out of his face. And I was like, oh, shit. Because you don't see it happening. You just kind of see him convulsing. You're like, oh, here's a guy convulsing, blah, blah. And you see blood coming out of his mouth. And you're like, oh, that's pretty fucked up. And then you see the alien just pop out of his face. And you're like, oh, shit. That was awesome. So anyways, I think there's definitely some real excitement there. And we also saw a lot of little vignette footage of Catherine Waterston's character, which was really like why, like when I interviewed her, I was like, so you really seem like you're kind of a badass in this, because you're seeing her. She's like a no bullshit kind of character. She's not like one of those reactionary damsel in distress that, have like a mild heroic moment at the end. She's like kind of a badass. And they didn't really show that in the trailer. I'm not sure they necessarily want the Ripley comparisons yet, but she's like wielding a gun and like kind of kicking ass, and you're like, oh shit, she's fucking awesome. So I don't think that like people have that impression yet, but they'll get it at some point.
I'm not sure people will have a huge problem with that impression either, because there was that image released where she's sporting a gun, and people are like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, and it's really cool. Like, just I remember seeing it, and she's like jumping and running and like all this other stuff, and she's not
jumping.
That's a true sign of a hero. But I mean, like normally you see like, okay, we saw Noomi Rapace in Prometheus, just kind of like she has that really fucked up scene, where she basically gives birth to an alien, and that's really crazy, but. The rest of the time, she's just kind of like hunkering along, and she's like, wounded and freaking out, and she's like, "What is happening?"
Like a spectator, yeah.
Yeah, she's like just like this wounded, like holy shit. But that is not how Catherine Waterston's character is going to be at all. Which is, I think, is refreshing. But we don't need another one. Like that would be fucking boring to me, is to see another character that's just kind of like crawling through the hallways and scared out of their mind. It's like she's definitely scared, but she's not like, wounded and like crippled by it. So
I think we have enough sci-fi movies with just cardboard characters that you don't care about.
Moving on.
Gin or so.
Speaking about characters that we do care about, a beloved figure died last week, Carrie Fisher. But guys, do not dare to call her pretty.
Don't even mention.
God forbid you mention she was attractive. I posted something on my Facebook about this. Because Steve Martin, he got into trouble for calling her pretty in a tweet. And
how dare he? Does he not know?
I posted this on my Facebook, and I was getting notifications of people commenting on this post for days afterwards. I had to mute the whole thing finally. And it was just, I don't know, man. It was, and it was evenly divided too. I mean, I found it wasn't just... There were some women that were diehard feminists saying that, no, you shouldn't have called it pretty. But then most of the women that were commenting on it said that there was no problem with him calling her pretty because she was pretty. And it wasn't, he wasn't defining her. He wasn't.
Are diehard feminists the ones that dictate whether or not you can say someone is pretty or not? I don't think people like that are actual feminists. I think that they're basically Nazis in any cause. Any cause out there, any ism you are. There are people that are just fundamentalist, weirdo extremists about everything, and they think that they write the book on it. And what they actually do is sour and ruin the reputation of a real, genuine movement. So fuck all those people.
Absolutely, and I'm sure she would have had no problem being called pretty, and it wasn't defining her by her looks. You know, I don't know. It was she was pretty. Then.
That's the
just
confusing
the fact
part
she was
to me.
pretty.
Like, if Steve Martin just said, you know, I actually pulled
She was a piece
here,
of meat.
that she was pretty, you know, and that was it. I mean, weird, but I wouldn't have too much of a problem. But no, he said, when I was a young man, Carrie Fisher, she was the most beautiful creature I had ever seen. Now, if it was just that, no problem. I still have no problem. But he went on to say, she turned out to be witty and bright as well. So it was him revealing her character that he got to know. You know,
the bottom line is, when you see somebody for the first time, or you watch somebody in a movie, you don't look at them as a human being and think, oh, that is a very smart, intelligent person. It's what you see. You know, and the problem is there's too many people in this world right now that are trying to take down the fact that we are human beings, that we have sexual feelings, sexual thoughts, and we have normal attraction to people of either the opposite sex or the same sex. That's just the way we are fucking wired. And
let me ask you something too. Would she have gotten cast in the film if she wasn't pretty?
No.
Just like Harrison Ford wouldn't have been cast as Han Solo if he wasn't handsome.
Of course not.
Neither would Mark Hamill have been cast as Luke Skywalker. It's the way it goes. You know, people want to see pretty people on the screen.
Yeah,
they do.
Nobody's paying to see like average looking people in movies. Sure, there are some, but show me and name the average looking person that's a movie star. I'll wait. There is none.
Yeah, there aren't.
And it's an attribute too. That's like getting mad by saying, "Oh, you know, this person was short." Like, it's an attribute. It's not all of you.
I've always had a hard time with that too, where people are like, "Oh, I don't like him because he's short." It's like, go fuck yourself.
I think the bottom line.
How tall are you, Chris? Just
I'm 6'2".
Chris is
you don't have that issue.
Chris is tall. When you see, because I didn't know. I remember when I saw Chris, like, Jesus, you're taller than me. You're a monster. I'm only 6 foot. So
I'm about 4'11", so I have no room.
Sean is
like a hobbit.
Respect to midgets.
Gonna give you a big hug next time.
You know, as a kid, I grew up with Princess Leia, with Carrie Fisher, and A New Hope and Empire and Return of the Jedi. And in 1983, I was 7, 8 years old. I was highly impressionable. It was like the beginning of you start to have that awakening, and I was in love with her. I loved Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher. I loved her in that slave bikini. It stirred emotions that I didn't know I had yet. And
I think it did for a lot of us.
I've spent, I'm not going to lie, many times thinking about her in that bikini, and I have no shame in that. I'm a normal fucking human being, and I have sexual feelings, and I have attraction, and I have thought of Carrie Fisher in that way numerous times.
To this day, his right hand is more claw than hand.
I have her name
it's all
tattooed
twisted
on my right hand. There's a place for her forever.
Machine, then, man.
But you know what? That does not diminish anything that she's done. I'm actually reading her book now. I picked up The Princess Diarist this weekend. I'd already planned on picking it up.
There was more to her than Princess Leia as well.
So much
she was
more.
a
She's
famous
a
script doctor
writer.
as well. I mean, she apparently totally overhauled the script for Lethal Weapon 3, for Sister Act, for Hook, for a lot of well-received movies. And Postcards from the Edge was a hell of a book, and it became a hell of a movie. She had her ups and her downs in her life like everybody else did, but she was,
maybe
she was
a little
great.
More. She was a partying girl. She
is an icon, though. I mean, to me,
Absolutely.
she really is an icon.
Absolutely.
And a major figure, and her loss was very tragic, especially with her mother dying the day after. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah,
who was also an icon. Singing in the Rain is one of the great movies.
It's
just
funny.
Like Star Wars
depending on who you talk to, like I found that like the older generation will cite Singing in the Rain, and I've spoken to some younger people, and they all like Halloween Town, which I've never seen, but apparently that's a
that's
a
like
Disney thing.
That's one of those unspoken classics. But yeah, I mean, Carrie Fisher has left a tremendous fucking legacy, and it certainly goes beyond just her looks. But that is a part of it. That is absolutely, unequivocally a part of it. And I told her, I was reading her book. She mentions that in the book. She's like, she is proud to have been Princess Leia and proud to be known as Princess Leia.
And she was beautiful, and she knew she was beautiful.
Of course she was. And she looked fucking amazing in that bikini. And I think it's fucking bullshit that, Disney's been on this anti-fucking metal bikini thing. Like, why? Why? To what end? Like, what does that serve?
It's
are you going to go back and digitally take it out of the fucking movie? Like, it does no harm. It offends a couple of fucking Nazi idiots, but otherwise it's just... It's a woman. You go to the beach, are you going to put fucking burqas on every person that wears a bikini at the beach? Like, come on, this is retarded.
and her looks were empowering as well, and I mean, and the fact that she, I think if they had just used her as decoration, it would have been one thing, but she was never that. She was always kind of the master of her own fate, and I think that's why that character really struck a note with. My girlfriend was telling me about this earlier today, actually, when we were talking about Carrie Fisher, and she said that for her as a child, when she saw Princess Leia in the Star Wars movies, it was the first time to her that she had ever watched a sci-fi movie that had a woman in it who was kind of the master of her own destiny. And I think it's also very important that in Return of the Jedi, she's the one who kills Jabba, because he doesn't see her as dangerous. He sees her as just decoration, and that leads to his death. She strangles him. She rips his throat out with that chain.
And the irony of that is that using the sexist outfit that she's wearing that he puts her in against him to kill him is kind of like the ultimate fucking revenge. Like, I think it's such an overblown, this is the kind of shit in society today, and it's really not all of society. It's a very particular sect of society, and
and partially 2016 too.
And it was also 2016's fault, because it did happen then. But it's just such bullshit. It's complete bullshit, and it's such a waste. The fact that we even have to address it is such fucking stupidity.
And it takes away from, the thing that we should all be really depressed about her dying,
Exactly.
I mean, it was a hard week, I was very upset that she died. And, and George Michael, too, I was really upset by dying on Christmas Day. That was, I'm a big fan of his, and I don't know. These people are gone, but it's nice to be able to look back and have their work and to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, hey, George Michael was a handsome guy, too,
Hey, Chris, I got a story for you.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
So Carrie and George Michael are up in heaven, and Carrie goes to George, and she's like, "Oh, I love you so much. I have all of your albums, except for the first one." And he says to her, "I find your lack of faith disturbing."
That's fucked up and funny.
My sister had a big poster of George Michael on her wall growing up in the 80s, and she was in love with him. And I think even back then I was like, I don't know that he's your type.
Dude, I'm an unabashed fan of George Michael, and I really like his solo work. I love Faith.
Oh, he's fantastic. And he's great with Wham, too. He is great. Faith is an amazing album. It's just hit after hit.
Between him and Carrie Fisher, again, these are two stars that have left tremendous legacies.
Yeah, it's a big loss, both of them. It's a big loss.
Yeah. But, hey,
but at least,
I always look at it, again, that's why I always say a tremendous legacy. If you've left a legacy, like, that's stuff that's going to carry on well beyond your life. Like, you've done your work, and that is an amazing thing. It's sad that you're gone, but at the same time, like, if you leave something that's going to last well beyond you, that is a hell of a feat. I mean, I know that people are going to be listening to our podcast like 100 years from now, this episode, and they're going to be like, "God damn, can't believe
they were on something."
But I did.
Speaking of legacies, can we talk about how Sylvester Stallone seems bent on destroying his with endless Expendables movies?
I don't see it that way. I think I think it caters to a specific audience, and I think that's fine. And I saw that in the comments too. Honestly, I looked in the comments, which you're not always supposed to do, but I do. And I expected to see a whole bunch of Red Bar comments talking shit about, "Oh my fucking god, they're making another one." I was like, you know what? These are silly ass movies. Bring them the fuck on. And
I actually thought that the third one was probably the best of the series, though. To be honest, and people didn't like it very much.
Opposite direction of that, and I went to the set of the third one.
The best made.
No.
Really?
No.
You know what I looked at them as? Like, they're trying to make kind of the ultimate of like these classic action star movies, and each movie is kind of a different shot at it. And I'd argue that they haven't nailed it yet, but that's what I kind of like. Like, I'm not a big fan of any of them really, but like I like that they kind of like, all right, let's try another spin on it and see if we can get it this time.
Well, I think that what they're going to probably do with this one, and that's what when Stallone mentions something about a more refined cast, I think he means that it probably just won't be as big. And it would be kind of cool if it's just him, Schwarzenegger, and maybe Jason Statham, which I heard a rumor it might be. I think that'd be kind of cool. If it was focused on them, it would be neat.
Well, he commented too that they kind of learned their lesson with Expendables 3, which was that the younger cast and the PG-13 just isn't what people wanted. The bottom line is we want to see, this is one of those movies where we want to see the old crotchety motherfuckers. We don't need a young Expendables. Let them go make their own fucking legacy.
We don't need the next generation. Yeah.
No, we don't. Like, they can do their own thing, So I think I think if they can refocus, stick to that R rating, give us, the bloody 80s, action type stuff and the fun, cheesy lines and, hopefully some cool action, some real helicopters. God damn it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fine. So I'm fine with another Expendables. I'm fine if they keep making them until they fucking die. That's fine. But
I'd like it if it was him and Schwarzenegger in the lead. I like to see the two of them as leads again in an action movie. I mean, Escape Plan, they tried for something, and I never thought it was that great to begin with, but I'd like to see them try it again. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, Escape Plan was all right.
We'll see.
It didn't suck. So yeah, Expendables. So the last news item we have to talk about is there was a report put out last week that Deadpool was going to be doing a cameo in Logan.
Written by your favorite guy.
I don't have anything against Umberto. We've kind of become friendly over the last couple of years. But I understand, like, I know how the game works because I'm a scooper myself. So, but I will say this: no filmmaker has ever made a video or attacked me on Twitter for any of the scoops I put out, because my scoops are legit. That's just what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Yes, there have been a few that have not panned out, but that is a product of time not being untrue, as things change with projects. So, but ultimately, the Deadpool rumor was quashed almost immediately by director James Mangold, who really kind of tore into the whole thing, and kind of took it personally. And I get it, like I understand it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Deadpool and Logan would be kind of the opposite of the direction that they're trying to go to. Would be, I find, like a huge cop out if they were to have it.
Here's the thing: I've seen 40 minutes of it, and I can say I don't think it would have been out of the question to have a Deadpool cameo, because there are a ton of references to the X-Men era. There's a part in, I'll just say it, the embargo's going to be up soon, but there's a part where he actually sees a comic book, an X-Men comic book with Wolverine on the cover. Like, there's a lot of self-referential stuff in the film. So to have a Deadpool cameo that's just not super goofy, but like a quick kind of thing that ties into that future universe would have worked. But ultimately, it was never in the deck of cards, and I think fortunately it got taken down very quickly, because had it gestated and gone too far, I think that would have left a really bad impression on what Logan had in store. And then you're going to have people go into the movie and see that people will go just to see that Deadpool cameo, and then it's not there, and then they're going to be pissed at the movie and the filmmakers and all the wrong people for the Deadpool cameo not be there, because people, unfortunately, can be pretty fucking stupid, and they don't read between the lines. They don't look at the origin of where that information came from, and they end up blaming the wrong people for why things didn't pan out. And I think that is exactly why James Mangold and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman all took to Twitter to basically shoot down this rumor.
That's good. It's certainly better than like seeing it in the actual trailer and then going to see the movie and it doesn't show up there.
Oh God! Enough! Enough!
Quick question, 9 out of 10. The universe Logan takes place in, is that following what we saw at the end of like Days of Future Past or the current one, or does it say, or from what you saw?
It's I have the year written down. I'd have to check it out, but I can't remember.
But like, is it like a kind of a separate timeline, or is it the one they're rolling with now?
No, it follows all the events from all the films, but it's many, many years after, and I don't think I can say too much more.
Okay.
It's in the future, but it's not too far into the future. But it's
the future,
in the future, and I can
in
say
the year 2017. I was just watching The Running Man the other day, and it's set in the year 2017.
Yes, I love The Running Man.
The Running Man's awesome. So yeah, but anyways, just kind of close that out with there's like this whole like thing against fake news now, which fake news has always been around. It's really not a new thing. It's just now we gave it a name. I don't think that this was fake news. I think that, probably what happened is Umberto got a tip. But I think his source failed him. I don't know. I can't speak for him. This is just my opinion. And they kind of fucked him, and that can happen with doing scoops. I don't think a lot of people realize it. And then there's a lot of people that are like kind of fiends for scoops. They don't realize what a risk it is to put a scoop out there. It really is a risk, because you risk your reputation, you risk everything by putting something like that out there. And you're really trusting in, these people. And a lot of times you can't reveal your sources. You can't say who they are. And, it's, not some dude just walking along the street say, hey, I heard that Deadpool's going to be in Logan. Generally these are people that are, in the industry or have some kind of connection to the industry, etc. I would never say where my sources fall in line, but I think my scoops speak for themselves. There's like about a 95% success rate. But ultimately it's still a risk. And I think that that's a tricky fucking business. And I'm not sure that really putting out scoops through like a news venue, like the Wrap or, Deadline, stuff like that is really the best place to do that. So
no,
I don't know, man.
Well, also to play a kind of devil's advocate, I guess, not really, but let's say, I don't know how it works. I don't know Umberto. So this is just outside perspective, but say you got a scoop. You're not sure. You're not like 100% on it. Not that you could be, but like it's very so-so. Again, it could be a numbers thing. Like, you know what? I'm going to put it out there because I know it's news. I know it's going to be shared a lot. And maybe if it turns out false, like some of the people in the industry, a little bit less respect. But like, kind of like your everyday person who doesn't really follow, all the time. Maybe they'll still eat it up.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people I know who don't follow the sites we do, still, shared it on Facebook and all that stuff. And
oh yeah. Well, I mean, hey, true story. I had to tell one of our newer guys. He wrote it up, and I saw it pop up. I was like, and I emailed him. I was like, hey man, you need to update this now. Like, you guys, everybody should. I know people they're like, oh fuck Twitter, I hate Twitter. But the bottom line is like, Twitter is the fastest fucking source to get your news.
Yeah,
because
it really is.
This day and age, you have your not only news sources, but also the stars themselves are now posting updates, reports, artwork, trailers, all that stuff. If you're not following Twitter and you're trying to stay on the top of the game with movie news, you're doing it wrong. Twitter is the place to be. You could say Twitter is dying and all this other shit, fine. But for right now, it is the place to get your news fast. And
yeah, it's like, do I post a lot to Twitter or Instagram? Absolutely not. Do I follow it? Yes, I do.
You don't have to post the fucking thing, but if you're a news editor or writer for any movie news site, you need to be watching Twitter. You need to make sure that you're following all the right people, because that feed is going to give you the genuine, real source. And any journalist worth their weight is going to be chasing the fucking original source. If you're
this
sourcing
edition of the JoBlo podcast brought to you by Twitter.
I mean, if you're sourcing like three or four sites away from the actual source, you are fucking wrong. Like I see that from time to time. Like somebody will credit another site, and I'm like, why are you crediting them? Just you're saying because you saw it there first? Like it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is you're reporting where the original source came from. Where was the original source? You're basically hanging everything on another site.
And I think actually that's a good lesson for any reader, really. Like, just, hey, like when you're reading something, keep the source in mind too.
Always keep the source in mind. Jesus, it's like so important. I mean, you could say, I don't want to JoBlo fucking, here's another JoBlo rumor scoop. Who put it up? Oh, Paul Shirey. Well, let's look at his fucking, reputation. Let's look at where is that source? Has he had, accurate reports? You leave it up to you to find that stuff. But there it is. Like, you have to do the work sometimes. That's the thing, is people just get lazy when they're reading. Like, oh, I don't have to dig. I don't have to click 2 or 3 times to find the source information. It's like, well, honestly, I think the biggest proponent to fake news is people. It's not the people making the fake news. It's the fact that people share it without fucking thinking or looking or searching first. So,
speaking of news, I've got some breaking news.
Oh.
Our guest is standing by.
Our guest is standing by. Oh, you're talking about Mr. John Fallon.
I am talking about Mr. John Fallon.
Let's talk to Mr. John Fallon. For those that don't know, John Fallon is the founder of Arrow in the Head, along with JoBlo.com, who has a new movie coming out. Well, it's already come out, but now it's releasing on DVD now, which is The Shelter. So let's talk to John.
I have tons of questions. I can't wait to launch into this and just never stop talking.
Sean, you're going to have to restrain yourself and don't ask a single fucking thing.
Because you asked me, I will do just that.
All right, so today we have a very special guest who some of you are very, very, very familiar with, and some of you may have don't know who this fine young gentleman is. But we have writer-director John Fallon, also one of the founders of JoBlo's JoBlo in general, with Arrow in the Head, the Arrow himself,
Woohoo!
Mr. John Fallon. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank
sir.
you.
Hey, John Fallon.
Very nice
John Fallon.
to talk to you guys, and I'm happy to finally be on the JoBlo podcast.
So, John, like I said, a lot of people may not know who you are, but I mean, honestly, you're kind of legend around here for obvious reasons. So, why don't you give us your version of how things came to be with Arrow in the Head and your involvement with JoBlo? I think it'd be interesting for the folks to hear.
Okay,
I'd find it
let me try to get the short version. When I came out of film school, I went to film school first, then I went to acting school. And when I came out of acting school, I was auditioning, and I was also working as a script doctor. And my best friend, Bridge Garabedian, a.k.a. JoBlo, had started JoBlo.com, and that was in 1998. So, and I was a huge horror freak. So, and Burge thought that I was a good writer, so he emailed me out of the blue one day and just said, "Hey, man, you know about all that horror shit, so you want to, start something on my site for fun?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I said, actually, if I remember correctly, I said, "Sure, we'll call it Arrow on the Head, and don't censor me," and I'm in. So he said, "Cool," and that was it. And then I started it really just to write, because the more you write, the better you get. And I never really thought it would go anywhere. And within about 3 months, Arrow on the Head started to really pick up. And the next thing you know, I had I never wanted to be a quote unquote reviewer, critic, whatever you want to call it. That was never an aspiration of mine. But I had something new in terms of career. So I just went all out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's still going today. Still, your legacy stands.
Yes, Arrow's still going strong, and although this year I was still reviewing, if you want to call it that, I was still talking about movies last year on the site, but this year I won't be addressing new movies anymore. I'm stepping backwards a little bit more from the site just to focus more on my filmmaking aspirations.
Now, let me ask you something. That kind of leads into a question I wanted to ask you, John. Do you find that having worked on Arrow in the Head and having become known in the horror community has been a boost to your career, or has been a hindrance? Because I could see it possibly being both.
I mean, for a long time, Arrow in the Head did get in the way of because people saw me, like when I was striving to be an actor, which was my main thing at first. Studio people, whatever, saw me as a quote-unquote journalist pretending to be an actor.
Oh, sure.
When it was the opposite, because I did the whole 3-year acting school thing, but I never did 1 second of journalism. So that was frustrating, because people didn't take me seriously, which is fine. I'm an asshole, but people didn't take me seriously. So right now, I don't know. You tell me, man. I don't know.
I would think it would be more of a benefit, but I mean, I could see. I understand what Chris is saying. I could see how. I think that people could look at it like, oh, this is like a critic trying to do it. But
it also legitimizes you too, though. I mean, a bit, as a guy who knows a lot about film, right?
Yeah.
Having written about it for such a long time, and who doesn't, who has some kind of background at least, and has a knowledge of film history. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I like to think of somebody, making movies as having a good background in it. I don't like to think of a director not knowing fuck all about film, and at least you having the background, and having read your reviews and stuff, we know that you have some bona fides at least.
Well, I'll definitely say that having watched so many freaking movies definitely helped me when it came to directing my first one.
Yeah,
I will say that.
Sure.
But
how did that come to be? Like, where did the shelter come from? That was like, why did you feel like this was the story you needed to tell now, and it was as your first feature?
Well, the spark that started the whole thing was I was coming back from a hockey game, and there was a homeless man sitting in the snow, begging for change. So I gave him a couple bucks, and I walked home. And on my way home, I thought, it just started going in my head, who is that guy? How'd he get there? And where's he going after this? So when I got home, I wrote those 3 questions down, and that was kind of like the beginning of me starting to think about it. And it was an incredibly long process to nail down the screenplay. most scripts that I've written either on spec or, was hired to write, or, usually take me about 3 months to write, to get to the final draft. The Shelter was, I had the beginning, I had the ending, the final frames, and everything else in between took me 3 years to figure out. And I couldn't let it go. It was one of those,
Yeah.
I mean, I've had ideas in the past where you start writing it and you're not feeling it. And you're like, okay, boom, you're out of here. But The Shelter was like for years. It took me 3 years thinking about it, not 24/7, obviously. But so I'll always remember when I finally found it. And it was like definitely a eureka moment. And I wrote it. And it's just a very personal script. And it's very odd. Hence, I never thought of having anybody else direct it, so it felt like the right project to start with.
So you also have there's like religious elements in here as well as horror. Where does that come from? Is that just your own personal, like your personal religious feelings and stuff like that, or are you trying to tell a broader tale in regards to religion as it pertains to this type of story, which is still a horror story, right? I mean, it is horror.
Well, personally, I mean, I would put it last in terms of horror. I think it's a drama first. It does have horror elements. And
well, it's not like blood-soaked, like
no, not
scary
at all.
monster
not
horror.
At all.
It's more like personal horror.
Yes,
I guess you could say.
Yes, it's more. It's a mindfuck. It's more in line with a. It's not as mindfucky as David Lynch, but it's definitely. I don't spell it out for you, and at the end, you got to kind of put the pieces together and make up your own mind. And it's one of those left up to interpretation type of spiels, But right. I basically took the anger and self-loathing. I was a very broken man in my 20s, so I remember that time. It was a really tough time. So I took that and used that for the main character, Thomas, that's played by Michael Pare in the film. And I was raised Catholic, and I always thought, we see movies about Satan and demons and the devil all the time, but, anybody that's read the Old Testament could attest that the man upstairs, could sometimes be a little rough in terms of, teaching people lessons. So I thought that was an interesting thing to kind of zone in on, and it hasn't really been done. So hence the Christian-based elements. And I just wanted to do something different, really. And I thought, this is a low-budget movie. This is the place to do it, and it's probably going to be my only movie that's like that. The other things that I have coming are more mainstream, I guess, but they're still, somewhat a little off-kilter. But for The Shelter, it was just the right time to do it.
It feels like a lot of times first-time filmmakers, their first film is like almost always feels like that's their most personal, their most raw.
Oh, yeah.
They'll make personal films again later on in their career, but it always feels like that first one is that story. They're like, this is the story I have to tell if I'm never able to tell another one again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like I could die tomorrow. I'm cool with it. I'm good. I said what I had to say. It's out there. A lot of people have, obviously some people hate the thing, and that's fine. But a lot of people have really love it. For me, it's been very fulfilling to hear from people that were really touched by it, or some people have even told me that they've want to go back and kind of explore their faith because of it. And that for me was really like, wow, that's awesome to have managed to touch people that way. And, I've never did something that's done that before. So this is kind of all new to me. And yeah, I'm loving it.
That's so cool, man. I mean, honestly, I think just the success that you've had, just for one, just making and finishing the film, which is like finishing is the biggest aspect,
Yes.
Actually bringing a project to life and then seeing it through is the hardest part for any creative endeavor out there. The one resounding piece of advice that's given by most creatives that are successful is finish.
Yeah.
Finish your work.
Yeah, and The Shelter definitely put me through the gamut. It was really a challenge to complete it. It was a lot of.
But what are you working on now, John? Because I see that I follow you on social media. I mean, I know you, but I follow you on social media. And I know you got a whole bunch of things going.
I see lots of concept art that's got me intrigued, John. I need to know what's happening.
Well, I'm working on I got 3 things going, but the 2 that have momentum. The first one is called Eva, which is a female vigilante film having to do with the sex trade. So that was delicate to write because you want to treat the subject matter in a respectful, and there's nothing erotic about the film, obviously,
of course not.
But yet you're dealing with prostitution and stuff like that. So there was a nice little balance to hit. And then, she just fucks everybody up, So, and the other one is called Heretic. And the only thing I'm going to say, it started off as a short film, but everybody that read it kept telling me that you should make a feature out of it. So I hooked up with the screenwriter and we came up with a feature. I start writing it tomorrow. And it's basically Apocalypse Now with Templars.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, right after the second Crusades.
You see, I always found that was a subject that wasn't explored enough in movies. I mean, there haven't been a lot of films about that. I mean, besides Ironclad, but I mean, I liked Ironclad a lot. But I mean, I feel like they could do something even better than that. I don't know. I'd like to see that.
There's the big tease of the Verhoeven's Crusades movie with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that never got made.
If there's one movie that I wish I could have seen that never got made, it's that one.
Me too.
Would have been amazing.
As a critic, do you find it difficult now to review movies knowing the struggle that people have to face? Because a lot of times, the director is probably more aware of the shortcomings of the movie than anybody is, right? And I mean, do you find that something now difficult to talk about? Like, I mean, because you said you don't write reviews anymore. Well, is that part of it, that what the struggle is to put something on screen?
No, actually. But after directing The Shelter, I'm like, how can I now go and review other people's films with a straight face? I mean, I can't it just didn't feel right anymore. And if something doesn't feel right, well, for me anyways, I just don't do it. So, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the right thing to do anymore. So I'm still, I might, do older films still. And, still, I want to keep my voice on the site, still going. But yeah, new films. And I have mixed feelings about it because I still enjoy doing it. I still enjoy going to see movies and I enjoy talking about them. But it just, again, it didn't feel right. So I'm taking one step back.
Well, John, it is an honor to have you on.
Oh, thank you.
I know everybody is super stoked and excited about the success of The Shelter, which is also a JoBlo produced film, which is even cooler. So congrats, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
like I've told you, I mean, fuck, man, I respect the hell out of you that you're able to get it.
I feel like you're one of the guys that like put your money where your mouth is, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of guys out there that are doing our job that want to be doing the job you're doing. And for whatever reason,
did it.
They haven't done it, or they haven't gotten there just yet. But you've shown, in many ways, you've shown like, hey, it can be done. You have to bust your fucking ass, but it can be done.
Well, it takes a toll, I think, right?
It was definitely a test of, and I'm really happy. Everything. I mean, we don't have that much time, but we got a lot of obstacles, and a lot of weird shit happened. So, and while I was going through it, it was very difficult, and it really tested my my endurance, my stamina, my backbone. And but now that it's over, I'm very happy that I went through it. I'm a better person for it. I'm a better man for it. I'm definitely a better director for it. And I've learned so much through the hardships that I'm going into the next projects way more better equipped. So it's all worth it. I'm ready to jump in again. So.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So the DVD for The Shelter is out this week.
Yeah, it comes out tomorrow, right? Actually. Yeah, on Wednesday, January 3rd.
So you can pre-order it or just order it. If by the time you're listening to this, you can just order it from Amazon. You can get it on iTunes. You can stream it on iTunes, buy it digital. Let me know if I'm missing anywhere, John. It's pretty much everywhere.
It's pretty much everywhere.
Tuesday, right?
Yeah, right now.
So,
but
is that on VHS?
I wish.
That's like the exclusive edition.
Exactly. But the DVD has some cool extras. I know a lot of people, were kind of a little lost with the movie, or they want to know more in terms of my intent. I do kind of connect more dots on the audio commentary on the DVD. So,
cool.
So if you are curious as to what the bleep I was talking about, well, there you go.
And you can hear more of John's sweet, velvety
Yes.
Canadian accent.
Oh, yes.
Throughout.
Oh, yes. There you go.
But you have to arm wrestle him if you want to find out everything.
Yes. Yes, or buy me,
That
or
leaves
buy me a
that
beer.
leaves me out in the cold.
And if you don't
I'll
beat him,
buy
he
you
ain't telling
beer.
you shit.
I think I'll just buy you a beer.
All right, man. I'll hold you up to that, Chris, for when I get back in town.
Definitely, man.
Cool deal.
Hey, John, thanks so much for joining us, man. It was truly an honor. And
Thank you,
again,
Paul.
Congrats on the film.
Thank you very much, man.
All right, so let's get into what's in theaters this week. We'll kind of get through this pretty quickly. I watched a let me try that again.
Yeah?
In,
What was that?
In English. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed my commentary. I watched The Monster Calls last night, and
It goes wide on Friday.
cried like a baby twice. Well, not like a baby.
My girlfriend was literally hysterical for the last half hour.
I cried like an adult
shit.
trying to hide his tears.
Yeah.
Twice, and there was a couple other times where I felt it coming again, and I was like, oh boy.
It's a good little movie, isn't it?
It was such an unexpected film. Like the way it's
Yeah.
after finishing it, I was like, God, I can see how tough it is to even market this film. You know?
Yeah, well, it didn't do very well in limited release.
I hate to say
over
it,
the
I don't
holidays.
think it's going to do well because I think what's happening is they're torn as it being it's not a kids movie. It's
No,
not.
and it's not even a fantasy sci-fi movie
It's
at all.
so not. It's so much deeper.
Well,
it is a
watching the
film-
trailer, is it kind of like a Pan's Labyrinth thing or something else?
No, that's what the trailer makes it look like, though. But
That's
it's not
what it
that
looks
at
like.
all. But that's
Like,
not that at all.
The tree monster is really just a character. Like there's like the one scene where they destroy the building, and that's about it in terms of like the action fantasy aspect. The rest, this is like a heart-wrenching, moving story that will bring you to tears if you're have any iota of humanity in you. And it is just amazing. And to me, Sean, you'll relate to this. This shows where Felicity Jones can be just a phenomenal
She's
actress.
really fantastic.
And you
in the
compare
movie.
this
She
to
is.
like Jyn Erso, and you really feel how much she got robbed with the Jyn Erso character, because she could have brought so much more to that character if they allowed her or had written a better part, because she is amazing in A Monster Calls. And if it sounds like I'm being, if I'm overly praising this film, I don't care.
No, it
is
great
an
little
amazing
movie.
film.
And also, I think probably Liam Neeson's best work in a while. Although I see Silence Tomorrow, but I thought Liam Neeson was terrific.
Yeah, just his
the
voice
the
alone
tree.
is.
And the kid was great. The kid was really good.
kid
But that
was
director,
tremendous.
he really knows how to direct children, though. He did the same thing in
With
The
The
Impossible,
Impossible,
Tom
yes.
Holland.
God,
I
The
actually-
Impossible is so good.
I said on Twitter, I was like, so the last two times I've watched a J.A. Bayona movie, I've cried multiple times. So his next movie is Jurassic World sequel. If I cry during a Jurassic World sequel, then he is a true fucking magician.
You're going to feel the
Because-
humanity of those velociraptors, let me tell you.
I also thought that Sigourney Weaver was pretty great in it, too.
She
I thought
was
had
good.
a
She
great
was
role.
good. I mean,
Her accent threw me a bit at first, but
it was
I
a
got
little
used to it.
inconsistent on the accent front, but she's Sigourney Weaver. It's hard to hold against.
Speaking of movies that are in theaters too, I want to mention very quickly one that I saw last night. Finally, 20th Century Women. Now we ran a review of it, and Jimmy wasn't crazy about it, but I have to say, just to give a second opinion, I was really taken by this film. Mike Mills did it, the guy who did Beginners and Thumbsucker, both movies I really liked. And to me, 20th Century Women was a great little movie. I mean, it is. I could kind of see why Jimmy might not have liked it, because I think you have to really kind of invest in the characters to get anything out of it. But from the beginning, it got me. It just really did something for me. And it's another one of those movies, though, that, like A Monster Calls, I don't know if it's necessarily going to do the business that it deserves to do. But
I mean,
it's very
movies like that.
yeah.
I mean, it's like an indie, and indie movies just don't do
but
well
it's
anymore.
very entertaining, though. Very
but who's
entertaining.
gonna go-
And I'm glad to hear that, because I loved Beginners. Like,
Yeah.
I love Ewan McGregor, so that's why I put it on. But it's one of those movies I was like, that was really good. And then, like, it just, like, it was such a good movie to put on, kind of a late night movie just to watch again. And I'd just watch it over and over when it was on Netflix. And I love Greta Gerwig. Does she have a
She's really good in
role
it.
this?
Sorry?
Does she have like a sizable role in this?
Oh yeah, she's one of the leads. There's really they're all kind of in it the same amount of time. There's 5 leads. It's Annette Bening, Greta Gerwig, Elle Fanning, the kid, I forget his name, but he's very good, and Billy Crudup, and they're all kind of in it equally, and they're all fantastic. And it's set in 1979 too, and it's very much also of the period of how things changed and how different it was to maybe raise a child back then, without technology, without, cell phones, without any of the stuff that we kind of take for granted nowadays. And it kind of tells it in a way that, well, I don't know, I don't want to give anything away, but I thought it was a great movie.
Well, I'm glad to hear your opinion, because again, I was a little heartbroken to hear Jimmy O.
Yeah, me too. I was upset about it too, but I was kind of because I was really looking forward to it, but I read the review before watching the movie, but I watched it for myself, and fair enough, he got something completely different out of it than I did, but it was one of those times when I was reading the review, I felt like this guy didn't see the same movie that I did, and I think it all depends on how you relate to something. And to me, I don't know, I very much related to it, and I thought it was great.
Awesome.
But that's it's my opinion, and everybody's entitled to their own. It depends.
I haven't seen it yet, but I will say there was one part in the trailer that affected me as a parent. There's a line that Annette Bening says that really struck me, and it actually had really garnered my interest to watch the film. Was she was like talking to the other female character about her son, and she was like, you're lucky you're going to see my son in the world in a way I'll never see him, which is him just being himself and being who he is without me being around. Because the thing is, like, when you're around your parents or your parents are around you, you behave a certain way, you're a specific way, and as a parent you'll never see your kids unless you're like, they don't know that you're there, or you're watching them on video or some shit like that. You'll never see how your kids actually are out in the world. And I thought that was a really profound kind of thing, because, I think about that in terms of how my parents would see me. They don't, I've lived a crazy life, and, I talk to them on the phone. I'm very frank with them. I speak with them and stuff, but they've never seen those interactions,
the real you.
Yeah. Or just how I react, or how I reacted in certain situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just don't see that. I thought that was just a really interesting and profound thing. And I thought I was like, I would like to see this movie. I'd like to see how this pans out, because
Mike Mills made it about his mother, right? Just like Beginners was about his father. And it's almost kind of a sequel in a way, I guess. But it's a movie that was made about his mother and made about his upbringing, so, and it has that kind of personal aspect to it. And I think he's also a really stylish director, and the score is really good. And I don't know, I really liked it. I really liked it a lot.
Cool. Well, I'll give it a shot sometime when I can.
There's also Underworld coming out this week, guys, but there's no press screening, so I haven't seen it. I'm going to try and see it on Thursday night, assuming there is a Thursday night screening.
You're not going to try and see it. You've agreed to see it. You're on
if there's a Thursday night screening, I'm going. They haven't announced them yet. They make the schedules tomorrow or something like that. So if there is a Thursday night screening, there should be, I'll definitely be going, and I will definitely be reviewing for you guys.
You're fucking going. You better find a way. It's your job.
I'll call Kate.
Do your fucking job, Chris. All right, so that's what's in theaters. Those are things you can go and watch. I highly, highly recommend to go see a Monster Calls. But don't.
Me too.
But you really got to go into a Monster Calls. Just be prepared for a heavier movie. And I think if you go in, you're like, oh, this is going to be like the BFG or some shit like that. You're screwing yourself, and I think that you'll kind of kill your enjoyment.
I think it's a good movie for kids too, though. I mean, you said it's not for kids, but I think older kids, I think it's fine.
I watched it with my son.
So I'm good.
My son, no, my son is 7, which means it's probably not gonna be good for Sean either. But like, my son was feeling the emotions, and he's a little too young to like really feel that, and he hasn't felt that kind of loss yet. Thank God.
Thank God.
But it was tough for him to process as a child, because he hasn't faced that, And I think that's. I don't think your like young children are ready to see this movie. So
I think,
if you're a parent
12,
and you're thinking about taking your
good.
younger child to go see a Monster Calls, I would caution against it, even though I hate to do that because I think it's a great film. But it's a movie to see, with grown-up friends, and I think that's a great film to talk about after you see it too.
I think they should put that in big lettering on the poster, though. Not the BFG.
This is not going to be filled with lots of joy and happiness and fantasy elements. You're gonna fucking cry. End of story.
So everybody's been kind of knocking the year 2016.
Fuck you, 2016. It's all your fault.
But you know what? I had to do my top 10, which ended up becoming a top 20 for the site last week. And you know what? There were some pretty friggin' good movies this year.
There really were. And there were some
were
some pretty terrible ones too.
And I wanted to get your top 5, and you wouldn't give it to me. So now I'm using this podcast to finally get you to give me my top 5.
Did I not? I never gave you a top 5?
No, you didn't give me a top 5. You said that you thought lists were arbitrary, and you didn't want to give it to me.
All right. So there were some good movies. There were some bad movies.
I'm going to give you guys my top 5 first because I think mine are the ones that everybody's already read and are less interested in because they already saw my article. So I'll just briefly recap what I gave as a top 5.
Okay.
And then you guys can give yours. Does that work?
Yep.
Sure, let's do it.
So number 5 was Manchester by the Sea, which I saw for the first time over a year ago at Sundance last year. And I loved it then. I loved it now. It's a bit tighter now, though, than it was at Sundance. I think they cut a couple minutes out of it. But in terms of performances, I don't think any movie can really surpass that. I think Casey Affleck's performance was brilliant. I thought Michelle Williams also terrific. Great movie. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Lonergan, and I think it's probably the best thing that he's done. Number 4 was La La Land, which I know that you weren't as crazy about as I was, Sean. And I think it's probably getting to the point now where a lot of people are kind of having a knee-jerk reaction against it because it's been so praised and people love it so much that it's almost like, well, it wasn't that great. You know, my parents went to see it and they were like, oh, you know, it was pretty good, but it wasn't, you know, the best movie ever. But I don't know, I really liked it, and but I benefited from the fact that I saw it before the hype started because I saw it just before TIFF. So. Yeah. I was fortunate in that way, but I thought it was great. I thought the chemistry was great, and I thought it was one of the most beautifully made movies of the year. Number 3 is one that I thought has been totally underrated by people and totally forgotten, unfortunately, is Sing Street by John Carney.
Fuck, yes.
Who's really,
I like
and he's really becoming one of my favorite directors. I don't think anybody has ever really made movies about music as well as he has. He reminds me of Cameron Crowe when he was at his best.
Yeah.
You know, and Sing Street for me was just
style.
Yeah, and the most memorable moment that I had in a movie theater this year was at the premiere of Sing Street at Sundance at the Echoes Theater, which holds about 1,200 people. The Drive It Like You Stole It number. I've never been as blown away by a scene in something. Yeah, and it was that scene just where it becomes like this 80s music video to me in particular was something that really kind of hit me. And I really loved that film, and I hope people check it out. I was disappointed that it didn't do great numbers at the box office, but, you know, fuck box office. Number 2 is Hacksaw Ridge, and I took some heat over my perfect score for it. But, you know, it's one of those things, like, I'm not going to say it's a flawless movie. It's not a flawless movie, but it hit me on an emotional level more than a lot of other movies have this year. And there are things that even bothered me about it. You know, I said before that I thought that Mel Gibson sadism was a little bit too front and center for me in terms of the violence. But
how dare they show more exactly as it is?
No, but I mean, you know, I find he reveled in it a bit. It wasn't just that. But I did really enjoy the movie a lot, and it was probably
#meat shield.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But it was probably, I just thought he was trying to kind of making it. He wasn't, you know, oh, this is horrible. It was kind of like a cool type thing, you know, and that to me I thought a little bit off-putting, but it didn't really affect my love of the film. And, you know, I gave it a 10 on 10, and I stand by it. I thought it hit me on an emotional level more than anything else. And then number 1, the movie that I thought was probably the most, you know, magical of the year for me was Midnight Special, and it came along early. Michael Shannon's one of my favorite actors. Jeff Nichols. For me, Michael Shannon and Jeff Nichols are almost like the new Scorsese De Niro kind of pairing. I just find that they make great movies together. And Loving is another great film that was in my top 20. And Midnight Special, I mean, I know you took issue with me putting it as number 1, Paul, but
I thought it was good. I think it's highly overrated.
Yeah, really did something for me though. Hit me strongly. So those are my top 5.
This will kill you, Chris. I went to see that movie. I fell asleep about 15 minutes in. When I woke up, I just left the theater. So I haven't.
Yeah, you know, you're not the only one who's told me though that he didn't really like it. You know, so it's kind of one of those. movies.
I was feeling under the weather, and I wanted to give it a fair shake, like another day. So I just haven't gotten around to it.
That's good. Yeah. So how about you, Paul? Sean, what are your top 5, Sean? We'll save Paul for last. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked all those.
But at number 5 was Arrival. Something about Denis Villeneuve's style. That's like, it's almost like, I hate to say it, but it's like guaranteed.
Sean, repeat after me. Denis Villeneuve.
You say however you want, Sean.
Say Villeneuve. That's
Denis Villanueva.
See, I'm not that bad. Next one up was Manchester by the Sea.
Terrific.
Which you hear me throw these words around all the time, but it was genuine and it was compelling. And like, not to spoil anything, but I love how it ended. Especially, I love movies that don't wrap things up in a nice, neat bow. And it was,
my parents saw it recently, and they had a problem with that. They kind of wanted that closure. So they loved the movie Lion, but they weren't crazy about Manchester by the Sea. And I think it was that's a real contrast between those two movies, because Lion does tie everything up so neatly, and it has one of those everything is going to be okay type endings. Manchester by the Sea, they avoid doing that, and I think that's kind of something that appeals to a different kind of film goer. But I loved that as well.
My next up was Don't Breathe.
I thought that one was overrated.
No.
Now, see, yeah, I know this
it.
one has divided people, but I don't know. I think, oh Jesus, the director's name is escaping me. Fede Alvarez. Yeah. He is exactly the kind of Sam Raimi director I want doing horror movies, because
he is a good director. I will say that he is a good director.
I would have loved to have seen him do Doctor Strange.
Oh, he would have done a great job.
I wouldn't, because we wouldn't have gotten Don't Breathe, and I haven't seen Doctor Strange. But anyway, he's a great director, and he knows how to create great scenes. Like, they're fun, they're cool in concept, and each time I watch that movie, I've seen it 3 times now, I just appreciate it more and more. It's one of the best horror movies I've seen in years, to be honest. That's the kind of horror movie I like, and Stephen Lang fucking killed it in that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
I love him.
Movie. Great movie.
My number 2 is Sing Street. Absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
I don't know. That director is... It's almost like, not that he's making the same movie over and over, but he's making a musical movie, but he's so good at doing it.
Yeah, he's
so good. And that movie throws so many different elements into it. You kind of got the coming of age, you got a little bit of a love story, you got, family drama, but somehow it works. Like, if I were to write that movie on paper, it would seem like a mess, and like, oh, you should take these elements out, but they all tie together really nicely. And
I was worried about writing my review of it because I didn't know of a way to make it really sound palatable to the people that read it, and so I struggled with that a bit, because like you said, on paper it sounds like a cliche, but it just works so well. It's kind of a mess,
and like, it's got like that scene you told me, the Drive It Like You Stole It, like, that's one of the great scenes of the year. But for me, that movie has several of those scenes, like when they're making their first music video.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that, or they start singing that one song, and like, it introduces each band member as it pans around the room.
Yeah, it was so good.
It's really great. This next movie really divided people. I know you didn't feel strongly about it, Chris, but Swiss Army Man was my number 1.
I wouldn't say that I didn't feel strongly about it. I mean, I gave it a positive review at Sundance. I mean, I liked it. I can kind of understand why it was your number 1, because it's a bold movie.
It's because of all the farting. I mean, let's be honest.
I love them farts.
Harry Potter farting for 2 hours. Who doesn't want that?
It's a really unique concept, and if you get the chance, I would listen to the commentary too, because they're very aware of the kind of movie they're making, and the audience is probably very small for it. But no, I loved it. I mean, it's funny, if that's your kind of humor, but it also makes you ask some questions. And I remember I saw it with a friend, and we were going to like the theme park after the movie, but like, we couldn't shake what we just saw, because it does ask some questions about how we act as a people, why we act a certain way, and while it's not a perfect movie, it doesn't, there's some questions like that don't make sense as far as the plot goes.
Yeah, especially the end.
So for like 99% of that movie, I absolutely love it. I think it's great performances. Paul Dano is fantastic, of course, and Daniel Radcliffe gives one of his best performances, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's the real deal, Daniel Radcliffe.
Both great.
With that said, let's hear the list from the guy who hates lists.
All right.
Paul, what are your 5?
All right, so here, of course, I have to give my fucking pre-warning here.
Number 1, Mechanic
I'm just going
Resurrection.
to give you some context into my reasoning for how I choose a top 5, and also to let you know that
just give us the top 5.
I reserve the right to change my fucking mind whenever I want. So this is the top 5.
I've already changed my mind
today. Tomorrow it may be different. So if you're taking this as, this is fucking set in stone, you're crazy. Okay, so my top 5. I'll go in order from 5 to 1. Number 5, Bring on the Hate, Suicide Squad. I love Suicide Squad.
I liked it too, but I just can't imagine it being in my top five.
Get ready to get in the comments section and ask for me to be removed. It was better.
You know what?
If
you had put Batman v Superman in, I would have been kind of cool with that. Because I liked that a lot. More I think about it, but and a lot of people hated that. But
I like Suicide Squad.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
I just enjoyed it. It's a style over substance kind of film, and I love the style, and I had a blast with it.
You like Ayer a lot too, though, eh? Ayer?
Who? Ayer? Yeah, I love
David Ayer.
I love Ayer.
Yeah.
I loved Fury. I loved Training Day. Is one of my all-time favorite movies. He just wrote it. He didn't direct it, but yeah, I love his work. Big fan. Number 4 is Deadpool. I think is the best superhero movie that came out this year. It was funny. It was awesome. Cool action, and really just it found its mark completely. It was the film that anybody that follows the comics or is a fan of the character, it's what we wanted, and it's what the character deserved.
It definitely connected with its audience and broke out big time.
Should be no surprise why that's there. Number 3 is Hacksaw Ridge, which I think, again, I'm a huge Mel Gibson fan. I am also a combat veteran, so movies like that fuck me in the head even worse. But in a really good way.
Did you see Bloodfather?
Yeah, I saw Bloodfather.
I put that in my top 10.
Nah, definitely shouldn't be in a top
Fuck
10.
you.
Hacksaw Ridge is tremendous. It's a great tale, and I'm honestly, these kinds of movies, they affect me in a way where I'm just happy they're being made and happy the stories are being told. And that is what's most important to me.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. Number 2 is just added today. It was Monster Calls, which just again, if I'm crying multiple times in a movie, that says something. Like that really resonated with me, and I remember sitting there and I was like, God damn it. Like I couldn't fight the tears back. A lot of times I can just fight them back. I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. But I was
it's sneaky how powerful that movie is.
Kind of sneaks up on you. And it's all in just a few words, in a few phrases. It's short too.
They get a lot done, and they get a lot out of that, like 90 minutes, right? I mean, it was.
I know, and it's a really lean runtime. So Monster Calls, brilliant film. Number 1 is Arrival. I think that was out of all the films I saw this year, the most original. The best style, the best overall cinematic experience, I guess you could say. I feel like Arrival hit on all levels, from storytelling to character to music to style. It had everything. Even if you don't think it's the greatest film ever made, that's fine. But in terms of being the best of the year, I think that fits that mold perfectly. You just look at every aspect. It has something to say. It has a mystery. It has reveals. It has suspense. It has everything. And I think for me, and it leaves you thinking. When you leave the theater, you're thinking about what you just saw. You're not just like dismissive, like, well, that was okay, that was fine. You're like, fuck,
it was one of the
movies over my head.
For me that made me not trust buzz anymore, because going into TIFF, the buzz about Arrival, quite frankly, was that it wasn't good. Everybody was talking about saying, oh, well, they tried to get it into Cannes and they didn't make it, which may or may not be true. And then finally people actually started seeing the movie, funny enough, and then they realized it was fantastic, and it's a great movie.
Cool. So that's our list. I appreciate you guys sharing yours. I'm not going to
How about we each list one awful movie, and not using Rogue One, because we've talked enough about Rogue One.
Okay, so not counting Rogue One, I'll just list.
I'm willing to bet my worst is also Chris's worst. And that would be Yoga Hosers. It was fucking.
I turned that off. I turned that off after 10 minutes, so I can't even list it. I'd say the worst one that I sat through and watched all the way through was Independence Day Resurgence.
I was very disappointed in that.
Slow burn of fucking. It was so awful. It's just like it started out and I was like, okay, all right, back in the universe here, and then it was just like every fucking scene advanced into more bullshit, and it just fucking unraveled. It was so fucking terrible.
Not using Yoga Hosers, because I don't even really consider that a movie. I really don't. I'd say for me, one of the really bad ones was Alice Through the Looking Glass.
I didn't see it.
I totally forgot about that one. I didn't see it.
Just talk about a joyless fucking agony.
Joyless agony. They'll put that on the Blu-ray cover, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Joyless agony. Alice Through the Looking Glass. Chris Bumbray, JoBlo. That was the best one. That was the best pull quote they could find.
Yeah, that's the best they could come up with.
That's fucked up. All right, we're getting long in the tooth here, so let's get to our questions and wrap this bitch up.
Questions, comments.
Go ahead,
All right,
Sean.
so we got Sean B on YouTube, who
B.
spells Sean correctly. Good for you, man. He
Sean
says,
B.
do you guys think that all of the scenes in the Rogue One trailers that weren't in the final cut will be on the Blu-ray release as deleted scenes?
Nope.
Be like a whole other movie, man.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll ever do that with the Star Wars movie. I think there'll be some, but I don't think that they're gonna release another cut or
there were deleted
anything.
scenes on Force Awakens. Some pretty.
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be.
I mean,
extensive.
there were entire toy sets made out of deleted scenes from Force Awakens. Mm-hmm. Think on that, motherfucker. I don't know. I think there's enough people kind of wondering about like where the fuck is all this shit that was promised that they may put that in there. But at the same time, I almost wonder about the backlash that will happen if they do.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. We'll get deleted scenes, sure, but I don't think they're going to be deleted scenes that allude to the alternate cut.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So if there's a scene in the trailer that's just a standalone deleted scene, they'll throw that in, but they're not going to give us like, and here how's the ending really went kind of scene. That's never going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
That whatever cut they turned in originally before the reshoots happened is gonna be buried, and we'll probably never see.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
never gonna
see that.
Yeah, you'll never see an alternate cut. It's not gonna happen.
Well, okay, moving on. So we got Classy Ulysses is back. YouTube.
Welcome back.
He said, all right, hard decision. Which movie would you like to see in theaters? You got three options: Lego Batman movie, John Wick 2, or 50 Shades Dark, because all three of them release in the same week. Oh,
and
shit.
John and Paul Shirey is gonna make me watch all three. There are two of them I want to see.
It's not exactly torture to watch John Wick 2 and.
No, I know. I'm actually really hoping that John Wick 2 ends up being the midnight movie at Sundance. I don't think it's gonna happen, but it'd be really cool if it was.
I would choose John Wick 2 with Lego Batman.
Me too. John Wick 2 is the one. I'm curious to see Lego Batman, though. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah,
I would choose John Wick 2 as well, but I'll say this: if Lego Batman ends up being the better movie, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I could see
Could
that.
happen.
I could see that.
Could happen.
Yeah.
But 50 Shades Darker. Well, I'm sure Paul Shirey is going to send me to see it.
You know what? I watched the first 50 Shades on HBO, and it was not that bad. It wasn't like worst of the year quality. It was like cheesy.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a cheesy late night sex movie, but it was hardly like this travesty that everybody called it. I was like,
oh no, it's not.
It's
the fanboys. They got too caught up in how bad it was.
I feel like, but I feel like people a lot of times they imagine that they just attack things without even ever seeing them.
Yeah, they made their mind. Most of the ones that really hated it and probably downvoted it on the IMDb probably haven't even seen it.
I mean, shit. If you like titties, you like nudity,
and I do like both.
You like
of those
shirtless
things.
men. Whoever, it appeals to everybody. There's plenty of stuff to play with your genitals with.
Yeah, you've phrased this before, Paul, so I'm going to steal your saying. But like when it comes to the second movie, people are going to love to hate watch that. So
they watch the shit out of that.
They will hate watch the shit out of that. All right, moving on. We got our man Corgi. Always Corgi,
he has a new
never
name.
Corey.
It's Darth Corgi Gandalf.
Get out of here.
He's Darth Gandalf on Twitter, so now we have to call him Darth Corgi Gandalf. That's my new name.
Calling him anything else but Corgi.
Corgi
Ha asks, do teasers for the trailer piss you guys off like they do me? They seem like a waste of time. And also, follow up, what do you think is the worst looking movie for 2017? Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. So, teasers for trailers. How do we feel about those?
They annoy me.
They don't piss me off anymore. They did when they first
started.
Well,
you like it because they get us hits. So that's fine.
I mean, yeah, sure, that's nice. But I mean, in the end, it's like I appreciate what they're doing now, and I think they've kind of gotten a better handle on how to deliver them, rather than because I think the initial ones were kind of obnoxious, but I think now it's kind of like they're not revealing so much. And they're giving like a cooler delivery system. So I can like the Alien Covenant one was like you see just the egg opening and it says tomorrow. So I think it builds a good hype. I think if they do it right, then it's a good hype builder, and it's letting you know, hey, that trailer is in fact coming tomorrow. So
I've gotten used to them. You know what I hate? He's probably not talking. He's not talking about this at all. But you know what I don't like? Hate's a strong word. But when they put the little like intro clips at the front of trailers, which is like a couple of seconds.
Bugs me. Yeah, I hate that.
It's like I'm already watching the trailer. You don't need to like entice me to keep watching it.
Get ready. This is the stuff you're about to see in the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Prepare
it's not like a aerial shot of a city is gonna pop up, and I'm like, nah, too slow, and then I close the tab and start jerking off at YouPorn or something already. It's like, come on, I'm already watching the video. I'll let it play out, and then I'll go to YouPorn.
Yeah. Well,
JoBlo Movie Podcast, sponsored by YouPorn.
I'm sure you have YouPorn already open in another tab.
Speaking of worst looking movies of the year, though, if we're talking about worst looking movies of the year, is probably the one that I have to go see on Saturday morning, Monster Trucks.
Oh, you have to see that.
It's gonna be bad. I'm seeing it Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Oh, you went a little Tim Allen there for a second.
The fact that it's in the morning too just makes it a whole so much worse.
Who's making you see that?
Oh, I don't know. Ooh.
Well,
hey, I can use the money.
Chris, most of the time you come to me.
I know.
And you'll say, hey, you want me to cover this? And I'll say,
I know, yep. I'm just busting your balls. I'm a film critic, man. And a film critic's job is to see the good and the bad.
That's right.
So
stop your bitching. And
I'm fine
eat your fucking monster trucks and like it.
I just like busting your balls.
I know,
you know those when you're sitting waiting for a movie and a trailer is going on and like the whole audience is laughing and you're wondering why? Mm-hmm. Like, why are people laughing at this? Well, I saw a trailer for The Boss Baby.
Oh God! That looks like nine lives too.
It really does. That movie looks fucking horrible, and people were eating it up in the theater. Like they fucking love that.
The right
shit.
People are eating it up. My kid wants to see it, so that's
there you go.
I see
your
it.
Kid
and
wants
I'm
to see Monster Trucks as well.
He does. He thinks Monster Trucks looks great, and I'm like, yeah, that movie's never coming out. I'm not going to the movies to see Monster Trucks. There's no fucking way.
But The Boss Baby, is that going to happen?
I don't know. I think it would depend on reviews. I usually kind of measure it that way. Like
on my reviews specifically.
If it's getting decent reception from, if it gets decent reception from people that I like, or that I, opinions I respect.
Fuck! What did Bumbray say? Fucking Bumbray.
No, I listen. I do listen, but we tend to agree more than we don't.
We do. Yeah.
I agree with you more on your reviews than
it's comedies that apparently we don't see eye out on. Did you like Why
you
Him?
Don't have any fucking sense of humor, you piece of shit.
Did you like Why Him?
Did I like what?
Why Him?
Why? I didn't see it yet, but I really want to.
Oh, I thought you had gone.
Honestly, we've been quoting it for like the last couple weeks because we debuted that clip, and I laughed my ass off when I watched the clip. I was like, "Oh, this would be like a fun, maybe it is what it is."
Wasn't.
And I watched it, I was laughing my ass off. So we've been quoting it all throughout my house. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually looking for it, and I like James Franco. I think James Franco, when he's doing like fun comedy type stuff, I think he's really great.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing The Masterpiece, his movie about the room. That should be great.
Oh yeah, I really want to see that too.
So what do you find looks like the worst movie? John Paul.
John Paul.
John Paul.
I don't really have one, to be quite honest. There's nothing that I'm like dreading or anything that I think it's a little too early to call, to be quite honest. I think we need to see some more. There's certain movies that I'm like, I don't know, probably not going to see that, but like Life, I think looks kind of like it's just going to come and go. It's going to.
Well, they moved it up. They moved it out of the summer and up to March again. It's back where it was originally.
Yeah, that's kind of like a dump month kind of thing too.
Yeah,
kind of. Those months are opening up to not be so much dump months anymore. But
no, not anymore.
January
I think after
Deadpool
made close to $1 billion, and then Batman v Superman made so much money too. I don't think they're really dump months anymore.
Well, I mean, they're finding ways to utilize them now, which I think is good. And I think I even wrote a Come On Hollywood about that years ago, where I was like, you guys got to stop fucking piling all your movies on summer and fall. Like what did January through March ever do to you, Hollywood? Like, why do you have to fuck everybody over?
Well, January's got the Oscar movies expanding. That's the thing. That's why they're
but even those a lot of times are still limited release. Even ones that expand, they still don't expand everywhere. So I don't have a particular movie that I'm like I think is going to be terrible. So
any other questions, John?
That is it for our reader questions and comments. Of course, thank you guys for listening and commenting and asking questions. Feel free to let us know more. Give us input because we want to know what you guys think, and we might read it on the air for fun. Like there was one guy, don't remember his name, but told us to get rid of that guy, meaning Paul. Yeah. And I tried. I told him to go away when we signed on to Skype to do this, but he said no. So I'm sorry. I tried for you, sir.
It's really
also if anybody's out there. listening, you should definitely check out the Brett Easton Ellis podcast.
It's a very fine Chardonnay you're drinking. I want you to clean your vagina.
I knew that was coming.
I was hoping you'd forget, and then we could just talk about it at the end. But fuck you, Chris.
Yeah. And Don Johnson.
If I had to act,
Done.
Don Johnson apparently is in that Lemony Snicket show that Neil Patrick Harris is doing.
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought Don Johnson died in 2016. Fuck you, 2016.
Fuck you. Don't even joke about that. Gino, our back end guy, put up something on New Year's Eve at midnight. R.I.P. Tom Cruise. I was so fucking mad. I was in a bar. I was literally, my face dropped. I was gonna leave. I was gonna like smash the bar up if it was. I was so upset because I thought that he had actually
bunch
died.
Of things like that, though.
I thought that Tom Cruise had actually died, though, and for until I thought I was almost hysterical.
Chris was crying at the bar.
I would have been. I
had a girlfriend in college once that like called me on the phone and she was bawling. And I was like, what? What's going on? She's like, I just heard on the radio that Matthew Perry has cancer. This was when Friends was super popular. And I was like, what? And she like drove to my work and everything. And she was like bawling, like tears streaming off her
really?
face.
Well, that's kind of.
And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like,
that's a
you're
little much. I would have been
person.
disappointed. I would have been very upset though if something had happened to Tom.
On the spot.
Especially after me and Tom, our year of
fucking
friendship.
talk
That
to
was
me.
2016.
Fuck 2016.
That's true. See, 2016 wasn't all bad. Friendships were formed.
Yeah.
Bonds were made.
Everything hinges on 2016. People are going to be blaming 2016 for like decades to come. They'll be sitting around
Well, boys,
well, it was 2016.
I think we've probably chatted enough for this week.
Yeah, Sean, you got your work cut out for you. You're going to have to edit some shit out. Mostly everything Chris says.
That's easy. That's like most of it.
Just bleep it.
Just any section where I wasn't talking, I'll just cut that right out.
Welcome to the JoBlo. It's Sean Wist.
Thank you for joining us. That sounded like a fart, by the way. I loved it.
Well, guys, we had a lot of fun this week, didn't we?
Fuck you, Chris.
Yeah, sure did.
I love Chris Bumbray, by the way. I'm just busting his nuts, just like he busted
You guys are cool. I had fun.
nut.
I had a good time.
I had a good time, too.
All right, so we thank you all for joining us. Please, if you're listening to us on iTunes, we would greatly appreciate a review and subscribe and all this stuff that helps keep us alive. So yeah, we would definitely really appreciate that, and we certainly appreciate your feedback. You guys want to start a petition to get rid of me? You can do that too, or Chris or Sean.
I'll sign it.
Whoa. We're not getting rid of. We're not getting rid of me.
Whoa.
Hey, come on! I like Christopher Nolan. Fuck off.
I like Christopher Nolan. But yeah, anyways, you can join us every day at JoBlo.com for all your news and reviews and interviews and all kinds of other good stuff. We'll keep you in the know. And check out our YouTube channel for our latest trailers, featurettes, and original videos, including this one. We genuinely appreciate your support and for listening, and we will see you next week. Sean, take us out with some faith.
'Cause you gotta have faith.
Baby!
I gotta have faith. Oh, baby!
9 out of 10.
"2017, what in the fuck? I hate 2017. 2017 is the worst year ever. Fuck you, 2017. Fuck you.